Hello and welcome to the Absolute Beginner Guitar Lesson Series. My name is Oliver and today's lesson is lesson number 23. I hope you have your guitar out, tuned to standard pitch, and I hope you have a notebook or binder, or at the very least a piece of paper and something to write with. I am going to have you write some things down today. So if we have all that in order, let's get into the lesson. So today's lesson is essentially on beginning to work with other major keys. Everything we've been doing in the lesson series has been working with the key of C major. And by that, all of our root notes for our chords have been notes that are in the C major scale. And the chords we've been playing are what's known as the scale tone chords for the key of C major. What we're going to do is we're going to start to look at some other major keys. What I'd like you to do is, I would like you to start with the G major scale. And the first thing I want you to do is I want you to sort of play the notes of the scale on each string. We're going to start with the E string. So our root note is G, and that's at the 3rd fret. Next note is A, and that's at the 5th fret. Then we have B, which is at the 7th fret. Followed by C at the 8th fret. D at the 10th fret. E is at the 12th fret. However, it's also the open E note. And finally, our F sharp note can be found at the 2nd fret. Or if we want to continue up past the 12th fret, we can find that note at the 14th fret. Now, the important thing to understand is we're starting to use sharp notes now, but we just need to use a little brain power. And we can, if we've watched the previous lessons, we know that the note F sharp is the note that is in between F and G. So if we can find F at the 1st fret and G at the 3rd fret, we know that our F sharp note is at the 2nd fret. So now let's just run that real quick on the B string. We'll start at the G note on the B string, which is at the 8th fret of the B string. So we have G at the 8th fret, then we have A at the 10th fret, B is at the 12th fret, and at this point I'm going to go down to the 1st fret to play the C. And then we have the D at the 3rd fret, the E at the 5th fret, and finally our F sharp note, which is going to lie between the F and the G. And the F is at the 6th fret, the G is at the 8th fret, so the F sharp note is at the 7th fret. So those are the notes of the scale on the B string. And finally, let's start with the G string. This is the G major scale, so we'll start with the open G. Then we have the A note at the 2nd fret. The B note is at the 4th fret. C is at the 5th fret. D is at the 7th fret. E is at the 9th fret. And remember, our F sharp note is between F and G. We know that F is at the 10th fret and G is at the 12th fret. So we find our F sharp note at the 11th fret. So these are the notes of our scale. And I just want you to sort of play through the notes of the scale when you play on each string, just to sort of review those notes and become comfortable with, that F sharp note, because we haven't been playing that note. So now what we want to do is we want to go to the next level, and we want to start applying our scale tone chords. And this shouldn't be too difficult for you. If we start with our root note on the E string, We have our G at the 3rd fret, and that's major. That's our 1 chord. Now our 2 chord is A minor. So we'll move up to the 5th fret and play our minor chord. Our 3 chord is B minor. So we just need to slide this up 2 frets. So our root note is at the 7th fret on the E string. And now we have B minor. The 4 chord is C major. So we're going to move up 1 fret from the 7th fret to the 8th fret and apply our minor chord fingering. We now have the C chord, which is the 4 chord. The next chord is D major, and that's our 5 chord. So we just need to slide our chord up 2 frets, and now we have our D major chord. Our E minor chord is the 6th chord. So we have options because we have a couple different E notes on the E string that we've been working with. So I can either go up to the 12th fret and play my minor chord voicing, or I can choose the open E to play my minor chord voicing. And finally, the 7th chord is the F sharp diminished chord. And we're not going to play that chord right now, but it's important for you to know that that F sharp note is at the 2nd fret. So when we move this to our root notes being on the B string, now we must find our G chord, our G root note, which hopefully by now you know is at the 8th fret on the E string. So we apply our major chord fingering. Now we have our G major, which is our 1 chord. Our next chord is A minor. So we're going to move up our root note from the 8th fret up to the 10th fret, and we're going to apply our minor chord fingering. Now we have the A minor, which is the 2 chord. Our next chord is going to be B minor. So we just need to move this A minor up 2 frets, and we have the B minor. The next chord is C major, which is the 4 chord. So I'm going to go down to our familiar root note at the 1st fret, and now we have C major. Our 5 chord is D major. Now this is a chord that we didn't play in the C major scale. However, if you know your major chord fingerings, you can find your root note at the 3rd fret on the B string, and we can just apply our major chord fingering, and now we have D major, our 5 chord. And finally, we have our 6th chord, which is the E minor. So I'm just going to move my root note up to the 5th fret where I have the E, and I'll play my minor. So those are the chords on the B string. And I don't think I need to cover every string. I think by now you understand. So from there, we want to do the same thing, and we want to use our root notes on the G string. And once we have worked with these chords enough to where we can get comfortable, now we want to start to try to apply our chord progressions in the key of G. And the important thing to understand is these chord progressions will work in any major key. So that's it. Put in your time, put in your work, and I hope to see you at the next lesson. Peace.